Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for having to miss the testimony of some of you, and I appreciate you coming today. Professor Franks, let me ask you, I listened to your and Ms. Hemingway's testimony and Professor Turley, so I got part of it. As I understand it, your position, Professor Franks, is that I think you used the word myth. It is a myth that the Biden administration used government to compel speech, private speech, but that the Trump administration is doing that. Is that a fair characterization?
What's going on in America? Welcome back to the Constitution Corner, where truth still matters, and we say what the mainstream media won't. Now listen, I just watched a Senate Judiciary hearing clip that just about turned my stomach. Senator John Kennedy, a man of wit, wisdom, and backbone, confronted a so-called legal scholar, Professor Marian Franks, about her radical writings and inflammatory tweets. And folks, let me tell you, this wasn't just uncomfortable, it was eye-opening. What we witnessed wasn't just a Senate hearing. It was a culture clash, a face-off between those of us who still respect the Constitution and those who want to tear it apart in the name of equity, justice, and every other buzzword cooked up in a university faculty lounge. Let's walk through what happened and break it down. Because this isn't just about one professor. This is about what's happening to our country.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Do you think perhaps you're allowing your personal political beliefs to affect your objectivity here?
No, I do not. What is guiding my answers here is that I'm looking to see what the Supreme Court has said. You notice that in the testimony about the censorship industrial complex.
I got that part.
No, I just want to clarify.
No, but I've only got 5 minutes. Your answer is no, as I appreciate it. Let me ask you a couple questions. You wrote a law review article in December of 2023 for the New York University Law Review, and it was about the two cases, Bruin, Supreme Court case, and Dobbs. Remember that article?
Yes, I do.
Okay. In this article, you said, I'm going to quote your words, "Taken together, these two cases demonstrate that the Supreme Court has embraced the use of the Constitution as a tool of racial patriarchy," end quote. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you went on to say, quote, "When the Supreme Court declares that there is a constitutional right to armed self-defense in public, it openly embraces and promotes a culture that privileges white men's ability to terrorize and kill those that they perceive as threats," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe so. Thank you for reading.
Okay. And did you also say in that article, I'm going to quote again, quote, "by simultaneously expanding white men's right to kill and constricting women's right not to die, this Supreme Court," referring to the current United States Supreme Court, "has turned the Constitution into a homicide pact as well," close quote. Did you write that?
That sounds like me.
Okay. In November of 2024, you tweet, don't you?
I'm not sure what the current terminology is for it, but yes, I am sometimes on the social platform that was formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, you're on a lot, aren't you?
I'm not sure what the relevance of that is.
You're trying to be provocative on there, don't you?
Again, I'm not sure what the relevance
Well,
of this question is.
let me show you the relevance. On November 7th, 2024, from your tweet, here's one of your tweets at 2:41 p.m., quote, "The majority of Americans hate women. The majority of Americans hate women more than they love anything, including democracy," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I am not sure what this has to do with the subject matter of this
Did you
hearing.
say it?
I do not have those words in front of me. I probably said something along those lines, but what is the relevance of that to this
Here it is, big as
hearing?
Dallas, right there.
Yes.
But your political beliefs don't impact your feelings about President Biden or President Trump?
I don't have feelings about either of them. What I have
Sounds
is
to me like your favorite feeling is anger. Let me ask you this. You issued another tweet. This was in May of 2022. You've just been tweeting up a storm. You said, quote, "There's a reason why the conservative-dominated Supreme Court thinks the Constitution does not contain a right to an abortion, but is convinced that it contains an individual right to possess firearms. And that reason is white male supremacy," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
Is there a question in this?
Did I read that correctly? That's
Is there
my
a question that is relevant to this hearing?
Did I read that correctly? Do you really think that the United States Supreme Court, you're an officer of the court, is guided by white male supremacy?
I believe that the First Amendment prohibits the president and other state officials for punishing people for
Did you honestly say that, Professor? And you expect us,
that the First Amendment,
as a Democratic witness, to take you seriously? Are you kidding me?
I believe that you should take
You
the First
heard of
Amendment
curb your
seriously, sir.
enthusiasm? Here's my saying, curb my nausea.
I believe that you should take the First
time has expired.
Amendment
Thank
seriously.
you. Senator Durbin.
So Senator Kennedy begins with a respectful, straightforward question. He tries to clarify Professor Frank's position that the Trump administration, not Biden's, compelled private speech. But the moment she starts answering, you can smell the elitist condescension in the air. She doesn't even flinch when asked if she's letting her personal politics cloud her objectivity. "No, I do not," she says as if we're all too dumb to read her own words. Let's pause here. This is a woman who claims to be objective while literally accusing the United States Supreme Court of turning the Constitution into a tool of racial patriarchy. Her words, not mine. She says, and I quote, "The Supreme Court has embraced the use of the Constitution as a tool of racial patriarchy." And then, it openly embraces and promotes a culture that privileges white men's ability to terrorize and kill. Oh, and this little gem. The Constitution has become a homicide pact. A homicide pact, folks. Let that sink in. This woman is teaching future lawyers. She's writing for NYU. And she's getting invited to testify before the U.S. Senate as if she's some kind of expert. If this doesn't scare you, you're not paying attention. But it gets worse. Kennedy brings up some of her public tweets, and this is where the mask comes off completely. She tweeted, and again I quote, "The majority of Americans hate women more than they love anything, including democracy." What kind of unhinged worldview produces that thought? How bitter, how poisoned with ideology must a person be to spew that kind of hatred? And yet when Kennedy reads that tweet out loud, what does she do? Deny it? No. She basically shrugs it off. That sounds like something I'd say. Yeah, no kidding. It sounds exactly like something an elite leftist academic would say. They don't believe in America. They don't believe in our founding values. They think you're the problem, not them. And it's no surprise she later accuses the conservative Supreme Court of being driven by, wait for it, white male supremacy. The irony? This comes from someone who clearly holds deep prejudice against an entire demographic of people based on their skin color and gender, and no one calls her out on that. Well, I will. Here's the deeper issue. This isn't just about Professor Franks. It's about an entire mindset that's infecting our legal system, our universities, and our culture. They hate our history. They hate our Constitution. And they hate you if you dare to love your country, your freedoms, and your God-given rights. Senator Kennedy's line, "curb my nausea," wasn't just clever. It was truth. Because this entire spectacle was nauseating. This woman is not some fringe nutcase. She's in the academic mainstream. And that should scare you more than anything. Because if these people get their way, they'll get the Second Amendment, criminalize dissent, and weaponize the government against people like you and me. Now more than ever, patriots, we've got to stand up and speak out. Don't just shake your head at this nonsense. Get involved. Vote. Run for local office. Speak the truth on social media. Homeschool your kids. Question your schools. Read the Constitution and teach it to your children. We are in a battle for the soul of America, and people like Professor Franks are not on the sidelines, they're on the front lines trying to rewrite the entire fabric of this nation. Don't let them. Thank you for watching the Constitution Corner. If you value truth, freedom, and the American way, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who still loves this country. I'll be back soon with more, but until then, stay strong, stay vigilant, and never back down. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.